My BF, 18M, and I got caught and sent to an alternative school for 40 days. Thankfully it won't show up on my college record since this is the first time I've ever been in any trouble. I've never even gotten detention, and I'm near the top of my class. I was just diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, and my psychiatrist claims that I was having a manic episode, which is why I did what I did. I don't really know why I agreed to do it. I think I just wanted to please my BF, but I did consent to it. I'm extremely embarrassed and ashamed. I don't even want to go back to school. I know everyone knows. I want to disappear. My parents have been treating me like I'm disgusting. They make me sit on towels so I don't touch the furniture of the car. They exclaim loudly in public places that I had sex at school whenever we get into an argument. My dad has told so many relatives. I feel like the 40 days at the alternative school is hell enough. They took away most of my electronics. I actually sneaked my phone out so I can get some advice. My 40 days already started and I'm a week in and I'm terrified that I'm going to be bullied. My BF is actually proud that we had sex at school and is telling everyone. I don't want to go to school, but I don't want to stay at home. I know I made a mistake and I know I will never make it again. I don't understand why my parents are being so mean. They are literally treating me like I'm a cockroach. They won't even let me eat dinner with them. I have to eat at the kitchen counter while they eat at the table. They've been yelling at me for every little thing. They also have been calling me bipo, short for bipolar, whenever I start crying because they're yelling. I know they have a right to be mad at what I did. I know I need to be punished, but this is too much. They could just take away my electronics and sit down with me and discuss why I did what I did and how wrong it was, but they didn't. I really need some advice. I'm scared. TLDR, we got caught and got sent to an alternative school. My BF and parents are telling everyone they can and I'm so scared to go back to school. My parents are also treating me like I'm disgusting and are acting like they hate me. Update: I know it's a little early for an update, but a lot of people were messaging me about how the conversation with my parents went. When my dad got home I basically demanded a family meeting excluding my little brother. We all sat down and I just poured my heart out. I told them about how they made me feel so disgusting, and how I was drowning in shame. I said that they betrayed my trust by telling other family members as well as strangers. I said that they made me feel alone, and that them making me sit on a towel as well as constantly belittling me was horrible. I also told them that I lost a lot of respect for them for how they've been treating me, and if this persists I would be moving out as soon as I could. I said that the only way I can see us moving forward would be through family therapy. They did not take it well at first. My dad said he was at his wit's end. He couldn't believe I would defile myself in a very public setting. He said that he couldn't believe I had such little self-respect for myself. My mom was mostly just silently crying. He asked me how I would parent my kid if they did something like this. I just repeated that I would be moving out if we didn't get family therapy. My dad started tearing up and then he did something that shocked me. He apologized. He said he knew what he did was wrong, but he just didn't know what to do. He was angry, disappointed, and scared I would make the same mistake. He honestly just looked extremely exhausted. My mom decided to speak up, and said that we should look at therapists together. She also said they would stop all of the shaming while also apologizing profusely for their behavior. However, they did say that I would only be allowed to use electronics during the day and they would collect them at night for 2 more weeks, which I agreed to. Right now everyone is calm. We've decided on a family therapist and are just waiting for them to reply back so we can schedule an appointment. I'm feeling really hopeful, but I know that we have a lot of work ahead of us. I want to thank everyone for all of the support. Story 2. Me, 24 female, so 27 male, let's call him Eugene. My sister, female, deceased 2 years, let's call her Carrie. Background about my sister: 2 years ago, my sister was killed in a car accident. She was riding with a friend to the mall. The friend's parent was driving, and teenage boy plowed through a red light while texting on his phone and hit the car my sister, Carrie, was in. Carrie was killed instantly and her friend, June, was in a coma for 3 weeks before her parents took her off life support. When Carrie passed I was devastated and angry and just not in a good place. Carrie and I had been extremely close. Despite a 7-year age gap between us, we enjoyed a lot of the same shows, we went to concerts together, we volunteered together, and I took it upon myself to guide Carrie like any big sister would do. Our parents were extremely busy with work most days and Carrie and I would often cook together and do crafts when we weren't too busy with school work. Carrie wanted to be a NICU nurse when she grew up, and I helped her find a volunteer position at a local hospital to help get her gain some experience being around patients. In short, Carrie was my sister and best friend, and when she passed, I was a mess. The last craft Carrie and I made together was a set of candles. We bought the wax at a local craft store and we both made each other a candle and decorated the jar it was in. That was the day before she was killed. At her funeral, Carrie was buried with the candle I made her. The candle Carrie made me sits on my desk next to my favorite picture of her and I together at the beach. Or it did, until last week. Background about my boyfriend: I met my boyfriend about a year and a half ago, about 6 months after Carrie passed. I wasn't looking for a relationship, I was still grieving my sister's death. But Eugene came along and it was love at first sight. He was extremely supportive, let me cry on him when I needed to, didn't push me into getting over grieving or anything. He was extremely gentleman about everything and very, very patient. After 6 months of seeing each other pretty regularly, we made it official. Eugene came into my life at a very low point and he has always been very respectful of sentiments I keep from my sister. Never asking me to take them down, always giving me space when I needed to cry. Eugene, along with most, if not all, of my friends and family know about Carrie's candle. There was a point after she died where I would take the candle with me everywhere out of fear that someone might light it, or steal it, or who knows what. The point is, that candle was and still is a very important part of my life and something that my sister made for me and me alone. When Eugene and I moved in together about 4 months ago, I packed away most of the reminders of my sister and put out the candle and picture on my desk. I felt that this was a huge step because when I'd lived just by myself I had pictures everywhere and a few knickknacks laying around for my sister. I wanted to make Eugene and I's home our home with just a small part of my sister there. Eugene understood and was very supportive. The issue: last week, we had a massive winter storm that knocked out power. We didn't have power for 3+ days. The power was knocked out at Eugene and I's house while I was at work, which did not lose power. Eugene texted me that he was going to light some candles and try and get a generator so we could have some for of power or at least be able to charge our phones, use lights, etc. Now, we have probably 30+ candles in our house. I am a huge fan of sales, and when Bath & Body Works has a candle sale, I like to stock up and get a range of scents. We have candles scattered all over our house. In the room where my desk is, there are no candles aside from the one Carrie made me. None at all, and there never has been. This room is also downstairs, where Eugene doesn't spend a lot of time, his desk is upstairs. When I arrived home from work last week, I noticed a bunch of candles burning in our living room, safely. Always monitored and not near anything that could ignite. One of these candles was the candle that Carrie had made me. I burst into tears, and when Eugene heard me crying he came out from the bedroom, where he was lighting more candles, and asked what was wrong. I was a wreck and couldn't get any words out. When he tried to calm me down, I shoved past him and locked myself in the room where my desk was and just cried. I don't know how he could be so stupid. He knew, and I thought he understood how sentimental the candle was and how much I cherished having a candle that my now deceased sister had spent time making with me just a day before she was killed. I haven't been able to speak to Eugene since it happened, Tuesday of last week. He has tried to explain why he did it, because he needed candles to be able to see, but I just can't wrap my head around it. He hadn't gotten into the large candle stash I have upstairs right by the living room where Carrie's candle was, but went downstairs, out of the way to grab the most sentimental, cherished item I have. The candle was burning most of the day while I was at work and is now melted and pretty much gone. I do still have the jar it was in, but I can't look at it without bursting into tears. Reddit: what do I do? Eugene says it was an accident, but I just don't believe that. He said he was getting around to lighting the candle surplus we have upstairs but just hadn't gotten there yet, after being home 6 hours alone with no power. I am heartbroken and feel like this is a major slap in the face. I feel disrespected. I feel like he disrespected my sister. I just don't know what to do. I don't feel like I can forgive him for this. Can or should I try to work past this? TLDR, boyfriend burned a candle my deceased sister made for me because we were without power. We have a surplus of candles that he completely ignored. Should I forgive him for this? If so, how? Update: a few people have PM'd me in recent days asking for an update, so here it goes. My original post was the day before Thanksgiving. Eugene and I had planned to spend Thanksgiving with my parents, but that did not end up happening. On my way home from work, I stopped at a local craft store to pick up supplies to make a new memorial candle for Carrie. Thank you for the amazing, heartfelt suggestion. My parents and I spent a day remembering Carrie and making a new candle using some of the wax from the original candle. I also ended up purchasing a locket and having some of the remaining wax from the candle put inside and the locket welded shut by a friend. On the evening of my post, I got home and Eugene said he wanted to talk. I agreed we needed to clear the air before Thanksgiving, so we sat in the living room and started to talk. I was not ready for what he told me. A few commenters from my original post seemed to hit the nail on the head in a way. Eugene told me that when we first met, he was extremely turned on by the fact that I was essentially a damsel in distress. I just lost my sister recently, I was in a massive depression, I wasn't myself. And that turned him on both sexually and in a protective way. Over the past few months, I've started to become more myself. I got promoted at my job, I've joined a cooking class and have gotten out more, and I've definitely moved away from being a damsel in distress in the eyes of Eugene. He went on to explain that he burned the candle in hopes that it would throw me back into that phase because that is the only time he felt he was attracted to me. That's right, he is not attracted to me unless I'm upset, crying, and a damsel in distress. When I prodded for more information, he told me that everyone prior to me that he had dated had either just experienced a loss or was in need of rescuing. Eugene told me he was no longer attracted to me. He dreaded having sex with me because he could no longer be the hero that was rescuing me, which is what turned him on in the first place. He didn't like go in public with me because I had started to put myself together more, like not just wearing a t-shirt and jeans like I did when depressed, and that attracted the stares of other men that he saw as a threat, taking away his damsel in distress. Eugene had a whole laundry list of things he hated doing now because I wasn't in a funk anymore. I told him if that was the case then we needed to break up. He agreed and said he would go stay with a friend until he could make new living arrangements. My name is the only one on our house and I told him I would give him 60 days to vacate the house, which he agreed was fair. Over the past few weeks, I've spent a lot of time with my parents and with close friends. I don't really feel like I've been dumped or broke up with someone. I just feel like me. Carrie's candle sits on my desk where the original was and I wear the locket every day. Thank you Reddit for listening. I appreciate it more than you know. Story 3. Hey Reddit peeps. I really need some help here. My 21M, BF, Alex, 23, absolutely love Halloween. Our whole friend group loves the holiday and we make a point to have a Halloween party every year. We're sad that we can't have our usual party this year, but we're still planning on having a little Halloween party thing on Zoom, so we still have an excuse to dress up and get drunk together. Anyway, our friend Sasha has been dating a guy, let's call him David, for about a year now. We don't have many complaints about David, he's pleasant enough to us, excluding a couple of slightly homophobic comments which he apologized for after he found out Alex and I were a couple, and, most importantly, he makes Sasha happy. However, when we were talking about costumes on call the other day, things got a little weird. Our friend group consists of 5 girls and 3 guys. We're all pretty big AHS fans and the girls all decided that they were going to go as the witches from Coven. Their costumes are absolutely stunning. Alex and I are planning on dressing as Michael Langdon and Mr. Gallant. Anyways, we asked David about his costume and he told us he'd actually planned for the 3 of us to go as Ross, Joey, and Chandler from Friends. Now I love me some Friends, but Alex and I have already bought most of the pieces for our costumes and we don't really want to change it at this point. We told him as much and apologized. If he'd asked us earlier then we'd have most likely agreed to this. He left the chat about 10 minutes later but nothing really seemed off. Until he texted me later in the day. He told me that he was uncomfortable with us going as Michael and Gallant as they often get shipped together and are most likely fairies. David told us he was uncomfortable with us flaunting our sexuality at every chance we got and that it was making him uncomfortable. We apparently ruined Harry Potter for him when we dressed up as Remus and Sirius last year. Anyway, David is still insistent on us changing our costume. We've also been accused of trying to isolate him as he isn't too into AHS. He can dress up as literally anything he wants, there's no rules. I really don't want to make anyone uncomfortable and I don't want David to feel like he's unwelcome, but Alex and I were really excited about our costumes this year. I know this seems like a stupid thing to be worried about, but we don't want to cause trouble for Sasha as she really likes David and we don't want her getting caught in the middle of some stupid argument over a goddamn Halloween costume. I'd feel awful if we were the reason that they started to have problems in their relationship. Wibta? Edit. Okay, I did not expect this to get so many replies. Thank you so much to everyone who commented and offered advice, I really appreciate it. Oh, and just quickly, AHS stands for American Horror Story. My stupid ass thought I'd already written that, sorry. I've seen a few people asking if Sasha knows about David's behavior. She doesn't, didn't. Not long after they started dating, David made a few comments about being against gay marriage and, knowing full well that Alex and I hope to get married someday, Sasha blew up at him. She was disgusted that he'd think like that and she almost left him after that incident. We felt awful for her as she really did like David and he kept making promises to her that it wouldn't happen again and apologized profusely. Sasha made David apologize to us and asked Alex and I if we would be okay speaking to him again and, believing it was a one-off occurrence, we said sure. He made Sasha really happy after all and she'd never stay with him if we weren't comfortable being around him. We kept the homophobic jokes to ourselves but told him that they were homophobic. To his credit he did apologize, though it was most likely not sincere. We told Sasha about this whole situation about an hour ago and sent her screenshots of the conversation. She was disgusted and we heard a good 5 minutes of their argument before Sasha apologized and told us she'd call us when she'd dealt with him. We've had a text from Sasha apologizing for all this, but it's not her fault. Update: I was gonna post this a few days ago but my professor decided to dump about 1 million projects on us at once so it had to wait a little bit. Alex and I took the advice of you lovely people and talked to Sasha about David's behavior. We even sent her some screenshots. She went absolutely apeshit at him. Long story short, she broke up with him. This is where the story should end, but David is apparently a bit of a petty asshole. We did originally only plan to have a small Zoom call party with a couple of friends but some mutual friends and people from some of our classes had asked if they could join, about 15 people all in. We were okay with this and decided to just have a larger Zoom party with them for a little bit then leave and have a call with just our small, close-knit friend group, people we don't mind getting completely trashed with. We informed everyone of this and everything was going great. Until it wasn't. David is roommates with a mutual friend, Ryan, and is friends with a few people in our mutual friend group. So he decided he was going to join in with the festivities, knowingly making Sasha very uncomfortable. He made a few passing comments about how he left Sasha because she's a FG hag and kept asking her if they could call in private. He got shut down pretty quickly. Ryan is not one for that kind of drama so he told David to get a grip. It made the whole thing pretty awkward to say the least. About an hour or so into this mess, Ryan shuts off his camera and mutes his mic. He and David were using the same computer, after yet another comment from David. When he turned the camera and mic back on, David was sulking beside him, just generally looking like a scolded child. Alex and I decided to mess around with him. Yes, it was petty. No, we do not regret it. We started dropping in some AHS lines whenever we could. E.g., so, you like leather? I like a lot of things. Any sort of suggestive dialogue we could think of between Michael and Gallant, not a massive amount to work with but you know. We could see David practically biting his tongue to not say anything. Eventually, after a whip comment from Alex, he left. Ryan just shook his head and laughed it off. Everyone else found it pretty amusing. Myself and Alex were pretty pleased with ourselves. The rest of the night was a hell of a lot better. David actually tried to contact Sasha a few days ago but Sasha's dad was pretty quick to intervene. He is a big guy, I wouldn't want to piss him off. Long story short, David is out of all of our lives now and Sasha is looking a lot happier. I know this probably isn't an update that anyone wants but I wanted to post it anyways. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to connect with each other in the comments below. Until next time, be kind, be curious, and I'll catch you in the next video. Corner Stories signing off.